There are certain days that don't feel fast, but they aren't slow either. And March 22nd, 2026 is one of those days. It's not a breakthrough moment, not a dramatic shift, not the kind of day that announces itself with obvious changes or loud signs that demand your attention. Instead, it feels like a pause, but not the kind of pause where nothing is happening. This is a different kind of stillness, the kind where everything is quietly preparing to move beneath the surface, where invisible adjustments are taking place long before anything becomes visible in your external world. If you pay attention, you might notice it not around you, but within you, a subtle, almost unexplainable combination of calm and tension existing at the same time. It's like you're standing still on the outside, going through your normal routine, having the same conversations, following the same schedule, but something inside you is no longer completely at rest. There's a quiet awareness building, a growing sense that you're in between phases, no longer fully connected to where you used to be, but not yet fully stepped into what comes next. It's an in-between space, a transitional moment that doesn't demand action yet, but quietly prepares you for it. That feeling isn't random. It's not confusion, and it's not a lack of direction, even if it feels unclear at times. It's positioning. It's the internal recalibration that happens before external movement begins. The energy of today isn't asking you to begin something new, and it's not asking you to close something out either. It's asking you to become aware, deeply aware, of where you are right now, right before things begin to accelerate. Because momentum doesn't suddenly appear without warning. It doesn't just arrive out of nowhere and take over. It builds quietly first, in moments that seem uneventful on the surface but are actually laying the foundation for what comes next. It builds in your thoughts, in your habits, in your decisions, in the way you respond to small situations that don't seem important at the time. Today is one of those moments, one of those quiet checkpoints where nothing looks urgent, nothing looks dramatic, yet everything is slowly, precisely, and intentionally aligning behind the scenes. You may find yourself becoming more aware of your current situation than usual, not in a way that feels overwhelming or emotionally heavy, but in a way that feels sharper, more direct, more honest, and more difficult to ignore. It's like the distractions that normally keep you busy, scrolling, overthinking, staying occupied with things that don't really matter, lose a bit of their power, even if only slightly. And what's left behind is a clearer, more unfiltered view of what's actually happening in your life. You begin to notice things you've been overlooking. You start to see where your time is really going, where your energy is being spent, and whether those things are actually moving you forward or just keeping you occupied. You become aware of where you're holding back, even though a part of you already knows what needs to be done. You may recognize patterns you've been repeating without questioning, habits that once felt normal but now feel slightly out of place, or decisions you've been delaying without a real reason other than comfort or uncertainty. Even the smallest details begin to stand out more clearly. How you respond to certain people, how you react in situations that challenge you, how you spend your time when no one is watching, and how often you choose what's easy over what's necessary. These realizations don't come all at once, and they don't hit you in a dramatic way. They come quietly, almost casually, but they stay. They don't disappear as quickly as they used to. And that's how you know something is shifting. This awareness doesn't come with pressure from the outside. No one is forcing you to change, no situation is demanding immediate action, and nothing is collapsing around you to push you forward. But internally, there's a quiet recognition that something is about to shift, and that shift is going to involve you, whether you feel ready or not. That's what makes today different. It's not about action yet. It's about alignment before action. It's about where you position yourself mentally, emotionally, and even physically, before things start to pick up speed. Because once momentum begins, it doesn't slow down to give you time to figure things out. It doesn't pause to ask if you're ready or if you need more clarity. It simply carries forward whatever direction you've already set, whether that direction was chosen intentionally or created through habit and repetition. And this is where most people misunderstand moments like this. They assume nothing important is happening because nothing visible is changing. They look around, see the same environment, the same routine, the same circumstances, and they conclude that they still have time. They stay in the same mindset, the same habits, the same patterns, believing they can adjust later when things become more obvious. They tell themselves, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'll figure it out when the time comes," or "I just need a little more clarity before I move." But what they don't realize is that later doesn't come the way they expect. Later doesn't arrive as a calm, controlled opportunity to reset and start fresh. Later arrives with movement. It arrives with momentum already in progress. And by the time it does, whatever they've been repeating, whether it's hesitation, avoidance, or inaction, has already started building into something more solid, something more structured, something that feels harder to change because it's been reinforced over time. Today is your chance to adjust before that happens. Not in a dramatic way, not by changing everything at once, not by making extreme decisions or forcing yourself into something you're not ready for, but by becoming honest, completely honest about where you stand, about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where it's leading you. Are your actions actually matching what you say you want, or are they just keeping you in a place that feels familiar? Are your choices moving you forward even slightly, or are they keeping you comfortable and predictable? Are you preparing yourself for growth, even in small ways, or are you unconsciously preparing to stay the same by repeating the same patterns over and over again? And maybe the deeper question is this: if nothing changed except your current habits continued exactly as they are right now, where would you end up? Not where you hope to be, not where you imagine yourself going, but where your current actions are actually leading you. That question doesn't need an immediate answer, and it doesn't require you to figure everything out right now. But it does require awareness, because awareness is what shifts your position. Awareness is what creates the space for change before change becomes necessary. And your position, where you stand mentally, emotionally, and behaviorally right now, determines how you move when things begin to accelerate. You might also notice a subtle feeling of restlessness today, but it won't feel chaotic or overwhelming, and it won't demand your attention in a way that feels urgent or stressful. Instead, it will feel contained, controlled, almost quiet, like something sitting just beneath the surface, present but not fully expressed yet. It's the kind of feeling that doesn't interrupt your day, but stays with you in the background, gently reminding you that something is shifting, something is preparing, something is getting ready to move. It can feel like a quiet pressure, not heavy enough to overwhelm you, but steady enough that you can't completely ignore it either. Like a signal that something is ready, but hasn't fully started yet. Like you're standing at the edge of something, not falling into it, not stepping fully into it, but aware that you're close. It's the kind of feeling that shows up when you're on the edge of change, when something inside you is preparing to move, even if your external world hasn't caught up yet, even if everything around you still looks exactly the same. And that's what makes it confusing for some people, because on the outside, nothing seems different. Your environment is the same, your routine is the same, your responsibilities are the same. But internally, something doesn't feel exactly the same anymore. There's a slight shift in awareness, a slight shift in perception, a subtle but undeniable sense that you're not fully comfortable staying where you are, even if nothing is technically wrong. This isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's not a problem that needs to be fixed, and it's not something you need to escape from. It's a sign that something is building. It's a sign that something within you is preparing for movement, even if that movement hasn't fully begun yet. And that feeling can either guide you or confuse you, depending entirely on how you respond to it. If you ignore it, if you distract yourself from it, if you push it aside and tell yourself it doesn't matter, it slowly turns into discomfort. Not immediate discomfort, not something intense, but a lingering sense that something is slightly off. Something isn't sitting right, even if you can't explain why. It shows up as restlessness without direction, as frustration without a clear cause, as a quiet tension that builds over time. But if you pay attention to it, if you allow yourself to sit with it, to observe it without immediately trying to label it or escape it, it begins to shift into something else. It becomes clarity. Not full clarity, not a complete picture, not a perfectly detailed plan, but enough. Enough to see one step ahead. Enough to recognize what needs your attention. Enough to take a small step in the right direction. Enough to begin shifting your position in a way that aligns you with what's coming next instead of resisting it. And that's all today is really asking for. Not big moves, not life-changing decisions, not perfect timing or perfect execution, just small adjustments in how you think, how you respond, how you choose. Small shifts in awareness, small changes in behavior, small moments where you choose differently than you normally would. Because those small adjustments, as simple as they seem, become the foundation for everything that follows. They set the direction. They create the starting point. A slight shift in focus can change your entire direction over time. A small decision, something that feels almost insignificant in the moment, can begin building momentum in a completely new way. A simple moment of honesty, where you admit to yourself what you already know but haven't fully accepted, can change how you move forward entirely. These things don't feel big while they're happening. They don't feel like turning points or defining moments. They feel small, almost unnoticeable, easy to overlook. But they carry more weight than you realize because of when they're happening. Timing gives them significance. Timing turns small choices into defining ones. Timing takes something ordinary and makes it impactful. And right now, you're in a moment where those small choices matter more than they normally would, where the direction you set, even subtly, begins to carry forward into what comes next. From this point forward, things won't stay as neutral as they feel right now. The stillness you feel today isn't permanent. It's temporary. Energy begins to pick up, slowly at first, then more noticeably. Situations begin to respond faster. Conversations begin to lead somewhere. Opportunities begin to show up more clearly. And the gap between cause and effect starts to shrink. What you do begins to matter more, not because the world suddenly changed or became more intense, but because you've moved into a phase where things connect more quickly, where actions and outcomes are more directly linked. You'll start to notice how one decision leads to another, how one action creates a chain reaction, how one moment of courage opens doors that hesitation would have quietly kept closed. You'll see how small steps create movement, and how that movement creates more opportunities for movement. And once that connection starts, it doesn't stop. It continues building. It continues expanding. It continues moving in the direction it was set. That's why today matters. Not because it's loud or dramatic, not because it forces anything, but because it's placing you exactly where you need to be before movement begins, before things start unfolding at a pace that doesn't allow for constant second-guessing or hesitation. So don't underestimate a day like this. Don't assume nothing is happening just because everything looks the same on the outside. Pay attention to how you feel, to what stands out, to what keeps coming back into your awareness even when you try to focus on something else. Pay attention to the thoughts you can't ignore, the ideas that feel slightly stronger than before, the quiet realizations that seem small but don't disappear. Those are the signals that matter right now. Those are the moments that are trying to guide you, even if they don't feel urgent or important at first. You don't need to rush, and you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a perfect plan, and you don't need to see the entire path ahead. But you do need to recognize where you stand. You need to be honest about your position, about your patterns, about your choices. Because once things start moving, and they will, you won't be starting from zero. You won't be starting fresh in a neutral space. You'll be moving from whatever position you chose today, whether that position was created intentionally through awareness and small adjustments, or unintentionally through habit and avoidance. And later, when everything begins to accelerate, when things start unfolding faster than expected, when opportunities, challenges, and decisions begin showing up more frequently, more consistently, more clearly, you'll look back at this moment and understand something in a way you couldn't fully see right now. It wasn't just a quiet day. It wasn't just a pause. It wasn't just a moment where nothing was happening. It was preparation. It was positioning. It was the space where everything was being set into place before movement began. It was the moment where you either aligned yourself with what was coming or stayed exactly where you were. And that choice, even if it felt small at the time, even if it didn't seem important in the moment, will explain everything that follows.